Interesting to see what you're gonna bring in. This is pretty cool, man. Where'd you get this?
So Margie died, and I was at her estate sale. So I bought a bunch of her stuff. She was some type of stewardess back in the Vietnam era.
What makes you think it's from Vietnam?
The $140 gamble that paid off big on Pawn Stars. Chumlee is pumped the second he sees the records. There's raw energy in the shop. Jason walks in with 2 original Black Sabbath vinyls, classic rock legends pressed in time. Chumlee's eyes light up like he just found buried treasure. Jason explains he got them from an estate sale. The woman, Margie, used to be part of the military staff during the Vietnam era. That makes the whole find even more intriguing.
Now, that one's got the original. It's almost impossible to find it with the poster.
That tear right there is gonna, but definitely really cool though. I mean, I've seen this album hundreds of times, never seen the.
One record includes a near impossible to find poster, though a tear on it takes a bit of value off. But that doesn't kill the magic. Chumlee knows these are rare. They don't come with posters anymore, and they are not in that condition. He throws out an offer for both. Jason's face drops, way too low. They haggle back and forth. Jason also brings in a Vietnam-era dress covered in old military patches. He asks for a fair price. Chumlee agrees, even though it feels like a gamble. He's buying mostly because Jason's a familiar face, and sometimes familiarity wins.
Each? Oh, that's way too low. If you could do $350 for the pair.
This is me taking a risk, $300. I'll meet you in the middle.
All right.
How much did you want for this?
I was thinking 400.
140. That's the best I.
Later, Rick sees the dress and raises an eyebrow. It doesn't look like any airline uniform he's seen. And worse, Chumlee didn't call the aviation museum guy. But Chumlee sticks to his guns. He made an executive decision, banking on instinct. He paid $140 and thinks it's worth way more. Rick isn't convinced. Chumlee stands by his decision. He believes in Jason, but Rick isn't buying it, literally or figuratively. He warns Chumlee not to trust the seller's opinion. Chumlee shrugs it off. He knows Jason brings him good stuff.
It don't look like I ever seen. Why didn't you call like MHP's Aviation Museum?
I made an executive decision. That Snoopy patch alone is worth some money.
How would you pay for it?
140.
To clear the air, Chumlee calls in Clint, their vinyl expert. Clint checks the records and confirms Chumlee struck gold. Their first pressing's Vertigo label. That alone makes collectors drool. One even has the original poster, which is nearly unheard of. The only flaw? A few marks where someone had taped it to the wall. Still, Clint is impressed. These are the real deal. Together, the 2 records are valued at over $1,200. Chumlee quietly basks in his victory. One more reason Rick should trust him, but he's not done yet.
Because you don't see these every day. On the Vertigo label is highly collectible, something most record collectors just drool over. Any Vertigo stuff.
Your chin.
I know, man.
All right, well, let's move on to this.
This is a first pressing.
Next, they turn their attention to the dress. It's not a stewardess outfit, not even close. The patches tell a different story. Military, not airline. One patch stands out, a 100 missions badge used by Vietnam-era pilots who survived intense bombing runs over North Vietnam. There's even a Phantom II reference, an iconic fighter jet from that era. And Snoopy? He was a common good luck symbol among pilots back then, always chasing the Red Baron. Jason's story checks out again. The patches are legit, made in Thailand, just like many from that era.
It looks like it would have a stewardess dress, but it's not. One of the things that you would never see on a steward, patches that don't relate to an airline.
Well, that's not good because
Chumlee's instincts were dead on. Even if the dress itself doesn't carry massive value, the patches alone make it worthwhile. When he finally totals everything up, he's grinning. The Black Sabbath albums alone are now valued at over $1,200.
I think you have a very interesting value, but the value is in the patches that are on it.
Really? Why are you grumpy?
after you found out what your boy did.
Rick reluctantly admits it. Chumlee nailed it. No hugs, no cheers. Just a quiet, proud pat on the back. Chumlee lives for moments like this.
It's not a tusk I want to sell today.
Okay. Where did you get a mastodon?
About my great-grandfather was on a dig in Florida, and he found it. He was an archaeologist.
Okay,
The ancient tusk that nearly made Rick gamble and lose. A man strolls into the gold and silver pawn shop carrying what looks like a relic from the Ice Age, a massive, weathered tusk. He claims it belonged to a mastodon. something his great-grandfather dug up decades ago during an archaeological expedition in Florida. Rick listens, intrigued but cautious. It's not every day someone walks in with prehistoric remains. He's seen a lot of ivory in his time, but this is something else. The texture, the coloring, and the strange grain running through it don't match the typical patterns of elephant ivory. It looks ancient, maybe even 10,000 years old.
Well, it looks like a tusk. Really damn old, I'll tell you that. If it was found in North America, it could be a mastodon tusk or a woolly mammoth. I think the mast shorter.
Okay.
They were in North America.
Rick's curiosity is piqued, but he's not about to gamble unthinkingly. The seller wants almost $1,000 and insists he doesn't have time for an expert appraisal. That's already a red flag. Rick weighs his options. He's staring at what could either be a rare fossil or just an old piece of bone cooked in a fire. He decides to take the risk. They settle at a fair price, but Rick knows that he is taking a bet that could go either way.
Maybe 10,000 years old. It's not millions of years old. I don't think. Can I call somebody to check this out?
No, I really don't have time. I need to get to work, man.
All right. How much you looking to get out of it?
I'd like to get in.
I mean, my problem is I don't know exactly what I'm buying.
But this isn't where the story ends. Later that day, Rick calls in his go-to expert for anything dug out of the ground. When the specialist arrives, he takes one look at the tusks and confirms it's definitely fossil ivory, aged anywhere between 1,000 and 10,000 years. Relief washes over Rick, but it's short-lived, because then comes the twist. It's not mastodon ivory, not mammoth either. It's not even from an elephant family at all, it's a walrus.
What have you got here?
You tell me.
Down normally when they have something that is unusual that's been found in the ground.
I bought this off a guy. He said it was a mastodon. I mean, this weird.
Rick's stunned. He's just shelled out cash for something completely different than what he thought. But then the expert lays out the unexpected truth. This fossil walrus tusk is actually worth a small fortune in the world of legal carvable ivory. Walrus tusks are hot property. Prized by artisans and collectors alike, they fetch a sizable sum per pound. This particular tusk weighs in at around 3 to 4 pounds, making it worth well over $1,000.
This is typical of what walrus ivory would have versus elephant ivory or elephant relatives such as mastodon. So how much did you pay for it?
I paid $500 for it.
In this instance, I think you've done. The good news is
Rick can't believe it. What started as a shot in the dark turns out to be a jackpot. He didn't just dodge a bad deal, he scored. And what makes it even sweeter? He trusted his gut when everything else screamed uncertainty. It could have gone sideways fast, but instead, Rick walks away with a profit and a wild story about the time he bought a prehistoric tusk that turned out to be a fossilized treasure from a walrus, not a mastodon.
I did good. I've been prepared
Congratulations.
for all my guesswork. Well, thanks, man. You're the best.
more than one.
Supposed to be in a bust, but my hunch was right. This thing is old. And at least now I know what animal it came from. I should be able.
In the pawn business, wins like these are rare, but this time, the gamble paid off.
How's it going?
Good, how you doing today?
What do we got here?
I got a pest collection I'm looking to unload today.
Got any candy?
No, these have no candy in them at all. These are all from the 1960s, 1970s.
What good are candy dispensers without candy?
Come on, man. You work with this?
The Pez collection that made Rick roll his eyes. Sometimes a seller walks in with so much confidence that you almost believe the hype. That's exactly what happens when a guy strolls into the shop carrying a box of colorful Pez dispensers like he's smuggling gold. He talks them up like they're rare art pieces, original packaging, 1960s classics, characters like Casper the Friendly Ghost and Batman. 50 pieces in total. He says they're Americana, that they're valuable, he says. They're worth $5 grand. Corey listens, but his face tells a different story.
I'm coming to the pawn shop today to try to sell some of my Pez collection. I like Pez collecting because they're pretty cool. I mean, it's real Americana. You know, like baseball cards or Barbie dolls, G.I. Joe dolls. It's just fun collecting them. These are very, very collectible.
Corey knows collectibles. He knows how markets move, and more importantly, he knows what doesn't sell. Sure, there's a niche crowd out there who might be into vintage Pez dispensers, but they're not lining up outside the pawn shop with wallets in hand. And online, that market is flooded. Resellers, hobbyists, and auction snipers, they're all out there hawking the same plastic candy toys for nickels and dimes. Corey's not just competing with that crowd, he's undercut by them.
I have Casper the Friendly Ghost in the original box from the 1960s. This particular Pez here goes for like $300 to $400. I have the Mickey Mouse in the original box. It's a die cut. Piece here goes for about $350, $400.
So when the seller drops his price tag, Corey doesn't even blink. That's a fantasy number, and Corey doesn't do fairy tales. He counters with a cool, calculated offer. Take it or leave it. That's the reality of resale. You don't get top dollar for toys when eBay's already 10 steps ahead.
I'm definitely interested in these Pez dispensers. I mean, there's a huge community out there of people who collect these things online. My only problem is that there's so many people out there buying and selling these things already that I need to get them really cheap. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to sell them. What do we want for them?
But the seller doesn't take it well. He's offended, visibly irritated. He insists some of these pieces, Batman, Mickey Mouse, Casper, are worth hundreds on their own. He calls it an insult to the Pez community. Corey stays calm, but the tension is real. This isn't just about toys anymore. It's about pride. The seller pushes back, trying to renegotiate, trying to squeeze $2,000 out of the deal. But Corey's done playing. He's not here for feelings. He's here to make money.
Well, man, I'm not looking to break even at all. I put them on the internet, next thing you know, I'm competing with 5 other guys selling the same Pez.
I understand that, but these 3 pieces alone are a Gino. These 3 pieces alone. Give me 2,000, man.
The deal crashes and burns. The guy storms off, mumbling about chooches and how no one understands the value of nostalgia anymore. Corey just shrugs. To him, this is the classic case of a collector's delusion. Something might mean the world to one guy, but if no one else wants it, it's just clutter in a box. No matter how colorful, no matter how vintage, no matter how rare, if it doesn't sell, it's worthless.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello there.
What do we got here?
I have a vintage Mankind mask signed by Mick Foley.
That's really cool. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Wrestling stuff over here.
What?
The day Rick brought in the masked legend himself. The shop is buzzing like any other day when a guy walks in, arms full of vintage wrestling memorabilia. He's got a tie-dye Dude Love t-shirt and a grungy old mask signed by the one and only Mick Foley. Right off the bat, Rick takes notice, not because he's some die-hard wrestling fan, but because he knows value when he sees it. Wrestling collectibles can be hot, but they can also be tricky. Fakes run wild in this category. And Rick? He just wants to do business, but he has to be careful.
I'm at pawn shop trying to sell my vintage Dude Love t-shirt and autographed Mick Foley Mankind mask. I have a huge collection of wrestling memorabilia in my house right now, and I'm just looking some items out.
Rick calls Chumlee over, and instantly there's a spark of recognition. Chumlee lights up. He knows this stuff. He knows who Mick Foley is. He rattles off the names, Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, as if they're family. The items check the first box. They look cool, and they come with a story.
This is awesome. When you take in Mick Foley, you have to take in all of his personality. So does Cactus Jack in 1986, and then in 1996 he came to the WWE, brands himself into Mankind.
But Rick's not sold yet. The shirt's color feels off. The mask, while signed, could be from any cheap Halloween bin. Still, there's something about it. It feels real, but in this shop, feeling isn't enough. The seller wants a fair price for the pair, and Rick doesn't flinch. He's not shelling out that kind of money without knowing exactly what he's buying. And Steve, the go-to for authenticity, isn't around. But Corey knows someone even better. Moments later, the impossible happens.
So, how much you want for these?
Vintage shirt, I like 300. For the autographed mask, I like 200.
Okay, a bit different of a color than the one he would have wore, or one that was a little more blue. Obviously, I think
it's surreal. The man who made people scream in arenas now stands right in front of them, calm and smiling. Rick watches the seller's jaw drop. This isn't just validation, this is a moment. Foley takes one look at the mask and shirt and instantly confirms it. It's his signature, no doubt, no questions.
guys, look who it is. Mankind, AKA Dude Love himself.
And there was none of this gray going on when I was defeating twice.
Even better, he gives the backstory. The mask's origin, the custom leather, and the grueling years of sweat and pain poured into it. The shirt, part of a limited run with colors that varied because the dye process was too expensive to control. What the seller thought was a flaw turned out to be proof of authenticity.
Do you want to take a look at this signature? I thought it was really cool because it says, have a nice day, but do you, or is that a little special?
I do write have a nice day, and that's definitely my handwriting. Yeah, I don't know what it's worth, but I...
Rick, standing there with his arms on the counter, nods slowly. Everything checks out, and for once, it's not about the money, it's about the experience. Bringing in the actual legend behind the items, That's a win on its own. But Rick's still a businessman. He offers what he thinks is fair for both pieces, low, but not insulting. It's fair play, especially after that unforgettable surprise.
We liked the surprise.
That was awesome.
So, what do you think? About 200 for the pair?
Yeah, 200 for the pair.
Can you do any better?
210?
I got to meet Mick Foley. Just me keeping it at this point.
The customer dropped the hook. He met Mick Foley today. That's the real payoff for him. Meeting the legend in the flesh. For him, this moment is more than money. That meeting gave the memorabilia soul. After all, how often do you get to see the very legend you're trying to cash in on?
Hey, how can I help you?
This guitar here, and I wasn't sure whether or not I could legally...
Yeah, I've never had anyone ask me if it's legal to sell, and that would explain why. It's a tortoise shell.
The illegal guitar that made Rick want to walk away. Some items come through the shop that are so risky and complicated, they make Rick question whether the sale is even worth it. This is one of those moments. A man walks in carrying what looks like a one-of-a-kind guitar, sleek, glossy, and clearly handcrafted. But the second Rick gets a closer look, something about it immediately feels off. It's not the craftsmanship or condition, it's the material. This guitar isn't just made of wood and metal. It's made from tortoise shell.
If I was able to sell, that money will go towards my daughter's college.
Where in the world did you
Bought it at a pawn shop. The reason I was drawn to it, done a little bit of research on the UK government one that they confiscated through customs.
That changes everything. Rick knows tortoiseshell isn't just rare, it's illegal. For centuries, it was used in everything from sunglasses to combs, even guitar picks, prized for its warm glow and toughness. But by the 1970s, things changed. Certain species of turtles were hunted to near extinction, and the trade of tortoiseshell was banned globally. In the US, owning it might not be a problem, but trying to sell it? That's a legal minefield.
Tortoiseshell was real popular. Combs, sunglasses, guitar picks, sorts of stuff. It looks cool and it's incredibly durable. But some tortoises in the early 70s made in tortoiseshell was banned.
Now Rick's in a tough spot. On the one hand, the guitar is beautiful, and when the light hits it, it glows with deep reds and honeyed browns. It's probably valuable, maybe even museum-worthy, but none of that matters if he can't legally buy or resell it. And when it comes to federal regulations, I didn't know doesn't count. Rick brings up the example of a bald eagle feather. Even if someone mistakes it for a turkey feather, the fine is still $10,000. No warnings, no second chances.
Reds and oranges. My problem here at the moment is, I don't know if it's early 70s or older. It's legal for me to buy this thing. You have to think about it. A bald eagle feather, $10,000 fine. It doesn't matter if...
To get clarity, Rick calls in a local music expert who's seen his fair share of rare instruments. One look, and the expert agrees. It's most likely a real tortoiseshell. He's seen guitars like it brought back after World War II, usually by soldiers returning from the Pacific. They're rare, they're collectible, and they're dangerous to sell.
I have a friend with a store right down the street. He might know the laws on it.
That sounds good.
Let me give him a call.
All right.
You know, a lot of instruments come through the store, but never anything like this. Making a new guitar out of tortoiseshell, that this is old enough and legal to own.
As the expert inspects the craftsmanship, he notes the detailed inlay work and the rosette pattern around the sound hole. It's clear someone put serious time into building this. The design, the finish, the old school build, it all checks out. It might even sound amazing if it had strings on it, but none of that outweighs the legal headache.
So do you know anything about these things?
Big after World War II, bringing back from the Pacific, and I know they go for a lot of money.
So do you have any idea how these sound?
You know, I know that bluegrass guy.
And then comes the final blow. The expert flat out says it. He wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. He's heard of people getting house arrest and 5-figure fines just for selling items like this. Rick doesn't need to hear anything else. It's too risky, too messy, and not worth the trouble, even if the payout could be big.
This is kind of a tough one because you get in any trouble owning the stuff floating around. It's been around, ever. People have been making stuff out of tortoise. I don't know about selling it. I would think one that was made really.
The customer takes it well enough. He came in hoping to sell it to pay for his daughter's college, but now he's walking out knowing he could have ended up in court instead. Rick, meanwhile, is just relieved the whole situation didn't spiral out of control. Sometimes, walking away is the smartest move in the pawn game.
No problem. You have a good...
I think I just might keep him as a memento to my wife's family.
Oh, my...
Oh, Smokey the Bear.
Wait, that's big enough to replace you.
Might work harder than me.
The giant teddy bear that was too big to sell. A man walks into the pawn shop with something you don't see every day. A life-size stuffed bear so huge it turns heads. Towering, fuzzy, and undeniably cute, it looks like Smokey the Bear on steroids. The guy's got a simple plan. Sell the bear and use the money to help pay for his daughter's wedding. He's hoping to get $5,000 for it, but he'll settle for $4,000. On paper, it sounds like a sweet and sentimental deal, but would the old man agree?
Life-size stuffed teddy bear. I'd like to sell him today because my daughter's getting married in 2 months, and I figured it'd be a nice wedding present for me to sell the bear and give her the money for it. I want to get $5,000 out of him, but I'll settle for $4,000.
At first glance, it's impressive. The bear isn't some off-brand plush toy. It's a stife. That name means something in the world of collectors. These aren't your average stuffed animals. Stife is known for top-tier craftsmanship. The brand's been around since the early 1900s, even coining the term teddy bear after President Theodore Roosevelt's legendary bear hunt. And this isn't just any stife. It's a studio bear, a special kind that's either life-sized or made to exact specs for realism. That makes it rare, but also hard to move.
Stuffed studio bear.
You can tell it's a stife by the tag. It's got the ear tag like every stife ever made has.
I heard of stife before, but what's so special about them?
Stife started making teddy bears back 1900.
Chumlee's intrigued, but the old man is not about to throw money at a giant stuffed animal without backup. He calls in an expert who knows his stifes from his knockoffs. The guy arrives, impressed by the size but cautious. He points out the classic ear tag, Stife's signature, and confirms it's legit. The bear is about 25 to 30 years old and in good shape. The quality's there, no question. But then comes the catch.
They had to be life-size or they had to meet authenticity as far as what they were trying to sell. This stife was designed as a display.
How did you acquire this, sir?
About 10 years ago, I picked it up at a yard sale.
Even though it's a real stife, its massive size is a problem. Most collectors don't have room for something this big in their homes, let alone their display cases. It's not the kind of piece you just stick on a shelf. That limits the market in a big way. The expert values it at over $1,000, not even close to the seller's $5,000 dream. The owner's face drops. He's stunned.
Well, the founder of the stife company was Margarita Stife. She contracted polio at the age of 1, and she went to school to sew, started the company. It was really big in Germany. You know, it's pretty amazing back then in the early 1900s to...
He thought he was sitting on a gold mine. But what is it with people getting their hopes up from online prices without realizing what things actually sell for? Still, the old man was willing to make an offer. He throws out a quick bargain straight up. That's it. No back and forth. Either the guy takes it or hauls the bear home.
I've found it to be in the value range of between $5,000 to $7,000.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people asking large amount of money for some of the bigger stifes, but it's just a limited market as far as who can fit this piece into their collection.
Thanks, Johnny, for coming in.
No problem.
I appreciate it.
The seller tries to negotiate. He wants $2,000, but the old man won't budge. They toss around a few numbers, but it's clear the old man's not going any higher than he believes necessary. It's a hard pass. The seller sighs and decides to walk, taking the giant bear with him. A little disappointed, especially since he wanted the cash for something meaningful.
Well, I think for 11, I think I'm gonna take him home with me.
All right, well, hey, thanks for bringing it by.
No problem.
When you get tired of looking at it, drag it back down. Come on, Chumlee. You're lucky.
The old man doesn't flinch. Another day, another deal that didn't happen. The seller figures that maybe in 20 years, the bear will be worth more. For now, it's back to being the world's biggest dust collector in someone's living room.